everyone, welcome to my channel. We will make learning English both funny and effective. In this series, I will be sharing with you the exact method I use to improve my English. Every day, I will take a page from the famous five on the Treasure Island, read it with you, and focusing on 20 new words from that page. Together, we will explore their meanings, learning how to use them in the sentence and even do some simple exercise to understand the page better. To make it easy for you, I've provided a PDF version of the book in the description box below. This steps-by-steps approach helping me a lot, and I am confident it will help you too. So let's start this journey together and make learning English an enjoyable experience. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me every day for a new lesson. Today, I will exploring with you a part of the page 17 and the page 18. Reading and explanation your guide to mastering English. 20 vocabulary words. Bath, swimmer, breathe admirably, practice, cliff path, salad, castor, rack, surprised. Behavior, garden, bread, cheese, plate, distress, upset, accident, sulks, refuse, silence. Study. Chapter 4. An exciting afternoon. They all had a bathe that morning, and the boys found that George was a much better swimmer than they were. She was very strong and very fast, and she could swim underwater too, holding her breath from ages. You're jolly good, said Julian, admiringly. It's a pity and it isn't a bit better, and you will have to practice your swimming strokes hard, or you will never be able to swim out as far as we do. They were all very hungry at lunchtime. They went back up the cliff path, hoping there would be lots to eat, and there was cold meat and salad, plum pie, and custard and cheese afterwards. How the children tucked in. What are you going to do this afternoon? Asked George's mother. George's going to take us out in a boat to see the rock on the other side of the island, said Aunt. Her aunt looked most surprised. George is going to take you, she said. Why, George, what's come over you? You've never taken a single person before, though I've asked you to dozens of times. George said nothing, but went on eating her plum pie. She hadn't said a word all through the meal. Her father had not appeared at the table, much to the children's relief. Well, George, I must say I am pleased that you wanted to try and do what your father said, began her mother again. But George shook her head. I am not doing it because I've got to, she said. I am doing it because I want to. I wouldn't have taken anyone to see my wreck, not even the Queen of England, if I didn't like them. Her mother laughed. Well, it's good news that you like your cousins, she said. I hope they like you. Oh, yes, said Aunt, eagerly, anxious to stick up for her strange cousin. We do like George, and we like T.I. She was just about to say that they liked Timothy too, when she got such a kick on her ankle that she cried out in pain and the tears came into her eyes. George glared at her. George, why did you kick Anne like that when she was saying nice things about you? Cried her mother. Leave the table at once. I won't have such behavior. George left the table without a word. She went out into the garden. She had just taken a piece of bread and cut herself some cheese. It was all left on her plate. The other three stared at it in distress and was upset. How could she have been so silly as to forget she mustn't mention Tim? Oh, please call George back, she said. She didn't mean to kick me. It was an accident. But her aunt was very angry with George. Finish your meal, she said to the others. I expect George will go into the sulks now. Dear, dear, she is such a difficult child. The others didn't mind about George going into the sulks. What they did mind was that George might refuse to take them to see the wreck now. They finished the meal in silence. Their aunt went to see if Uncle Quentin wanted any more pie. He was having his meal in the study by himself. As soon as she had gone out of the room and picked up the bread and cheese from George's plate and went out into the garden. 20 important words from that chapter that can help you in learning English. Bathed, to take a bath or swim. Swimmer, someone who swims. Breath, the air taken into or expelled from the lungs. Admiringly, in a way that shows admiration. Practice, to do something repeatedly to improve. Cliff path, a path along the edge of a cliff. Salad, a dish of mixed raw vegetable. Custard, a sweet dessert made with milk and eggs. Rocks, the remains of a ship that has been destroyed. Surprised, feeling or showing surprise. Behavior, the way in which one acts or conducts oneself. Distress, extreme anxiety, sorrow, or pain. Upset, to make someone unhappy or worried. Accident, an unfortunate incident that happens unexpectedly. Sulks, to be silent, morose, and bad tempered out of annoyance or disappointment. Refuse, to indicate or show that one is not willing to do something. Silence, complete absence of sound. Study, a room used for reading, writing, or academic work. Plate, a flat dish used for holding food. Garden, a piece of ground used for growing flowers, fruit, or vegetables. Opposites, antonyms of the 20 words you provided. Bathe dry, swimmer non-swimmer. Breath choke, all hold breath, exhale, admiringly, disapprovingly. Practice neglect. Cliff path, flat ground. Salad, hot dish or meat. Custard, savory dish. Racking and tack ship. Surprised, unsurprised. Behavior, misbehavior. Garden and door space. Bread, meat, or non-bread food. Cheese, fruit, or non-dairy food. Plate, bowl, or no dish. Distress, comfort. Upset, calm. Accident, intentional act. Sulks, cheerfulness. Refuse, accept. 8 comprehension question based on the text, each with 4 answer options to help you understand the story better. Why was George considered a better swimmer than the boys? She had special swimming gear. She was stronger, faster, and could swim underwater. She had taken swimming lessons for years. She was older than the boys. The answer of question 1 in the text, they all have a bath then that morning, and the boys found that George was a much better swimmer than they were. She was very strong and very fast, and she could swim underwater. 2. Holding her breath for ages. Yes, is the answer for question 1. She was stronger, faster, and could swim underwater. What did the children eat for lunch? Sandwiches and fruit, cold meat, salad, plum pie, custard, and cheese. Pizza and ice cream, soup and bread. The answer in the text for question 2, they were all very hungry at lunchtime. They went back up the cliff path, hoping there would be lots to eat, and there was cold meat and salad, plum pie, and custards and cheese afterward. Yes, the answer of question number 2, cold meat, salad, plum pie, custard, and cheese. Why was George's mother surprised when Anne said George would take them to see the wreck? George had never taken anyone to see the wreck before. George didn't know how to row a boat. George was afraid of the wreck. George didn't like her cousin. The answer For question number 3 in the text, George is going to take you, she said. Why, George, that's come over you. You've never taken a single person before. Yes, is the answer. George had never taken anyone to say the rock before. Why did George kick Anne under the table? Anne was eating too much and was about to mention Timothy, which was a secret, and was being rude to George, and spilled food on George. Oh, yes, said Aunt, eagerly, anxious to stick up for her strange cousin. We do like George, and we like T.I. She was just about to say that they like Timothy too, when she got such a kick on her ankle that she cried out in pain and the tears came into her eyes. Yes, is the answer. To say that they liked Timothy. And was about to mention Timothy, which was a secret. How did George's mother react when George kicked Anne? She laughed and thought it was funny. She asked George to leave the table. She ignored it and continued eating. She praised George for standing up for herself. The answer in the text, crying her mother, leave the table at once. Yes, is the answer. She asked George to leave the table. What did and do after George left the table? She followed George to apologize. She picked up George's bread and cheese and took it to her. She cried and refused to eat any more. She told her aunt about Timothy. The answer of the question in the text, and picked up the bread and cheese from George's plate and went out into the garden. Yes, is the answer. She picked up George's bread and cheese and took it to her. Why were the children worried after George left the table? They thought George would tell her father about them. They were afraid George might not take them to see the wreck. They thought George would run away from home. They were worried George would get into more trouble. The answer in the text that they didn't meet was to George Mead refused to take them to see the rock now. Yes, is the answer. They were afraid George might not take them to see the rock. Where was Uncle Quentin having his meal? In the garden, in the study, at the dining table, in the kitchen. The answer in the text, their aunt wanted to see if Uncle Quentin wanted any more tea. He was having her meal in the study by himself. Yes, is the answer. In the study is the answer. Now, to better understand and memorize the 20 words we shared today, I've provided a series of exercises for you to follow. You found the PDF in the description box below. Right in the blankets. And conversation you can practice in with yourself and write your own tier into using at least 10 or 20 words. In the end, goodbye, and I will see you in another video.
Subscribe now.